Hello, and welcome to The Exit presented by Flippa. This is a 30-minute podcast featuring amazing entrepreneurs who have been there and they have done it. The Exit talks to operators who have bought and sold businesses of all different sizes. You'll learn how they did it, why they did it, and get exposure to the world of exit. It's a world occupied by a small few, but accessible to many. And on this special episode, I sit down with Gaby Isturiz. And she is an incredible serial entrepreneur who has exited 2 software businesses. She came here from Venezuela 20-something years ago and was a software engineer who found an opportunity while she was working at a law firm and created an electronic billing service for law firms. And it is a textbook example of how an entrepreneur sees a problem and goes out there and builds it. And she goes on to build this company over the course of a few years, exits that, and then starts a whole new company to really pioneer the use of iPads for the different law firms out there, and does a great job of describing how to, track things within businesses leading into an exit. And having gone through 2 very large scale exits, it's really great information. And currently, Gaby is an investor and advisor for over a dozen different startups, helping women and minorities out there get started with successful businesses. So without further ado, let's jump right into my interview here on The Exit with Gaby. All right, guys, today I am here with Gaby Isturiz, the advisor and well-known investor. How are you doing today, Gaby?
Very good. Thank you, Steve, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to dig into this. So before we talk about your exit, let's hear about your background. What got you into starting businesses and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, a little bit of my story. It's software engineer. I'm originally from Venezuela, and back in the day, you did what your parents will tell you. So my dad said, "No, as an artist, you're not going anywhere. You can do math, pick an engineering, right?" And I picked out software engineering because it was engineering with more female to male ratio. So that was my decision criteria. And then I got into software engineering, and I discovered that it was a form of art. And I came to the United States for 2 years, 25 years ago. So I never went back. And I did a master's in information science. And and I started working as a CIO in a law firm. I created my first company there. We grew that company. Thomson Reuters bought it, and I started my second company, and that's how pretty much I became a serial entrepreneur.
Very cool. Very cool. So you started the first company while you were at a law firm. What was that company?
Yeah, so the first company was called e-billing hub.
Okay.
There was a super big unmet need to solve the problem of electronic billing for law firms and professional services. There was nothing there. And because I was, a software developer, so I have my superpowers, I said, okay, I think there is an opportunity here. And so I did it for the law firm. And then, we took it commercially, and we grew that company in 5 years. The first 2 years that we took it to market, I think we got from like a 10 to 100 of the largest law firms. And yeah, it became, and it today, it continues to be the leader in electronic billing for law firms and professional services. And now it's part of the Thomson Reuters family.
Wow, good for you. I love that you had the superpower to build and take action and build something that was a need in the industry you were in, and you jumped on it and did it. I love that drive that you have to get that done. That's a true entrepreneur taking your own control to solve a problem in a niche that you know has the problem.
Yeah, and I think, Steve, I think it was kind of like ignorance is blessing because, you know, I didn't know that, it was going to be that hard, right? I remember I was just from Venezuela. I didn't have a network. I
Mhm.
didn't have any family, right? So it was extremely challenging. I learned a lot, and yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So after you build that, what happens next? You start Belfield. How recently after that did you start Belfield?
Yeah, so I mean, we had a successful exit, and we had a non-compete. But because of the exit, we kind of like made a little bit of a name for ourselves in this vertical that it's
Mhm.
legal tech, professional services tech. So we couldn't do much of what we were doing, and by then we started Belfield, our second company, in 2011, 2012, and the iPad was a new thing. And
Mm.
we said, well, let's help lawyers to use the iPad and let's help him to do time tracking. And not only lawyers, but accountants and other professional services. And so we have started out as a mobile time tracking solution. And 7, 8 years later, in our vertical, we became the number one, timekeeping solution for, everywhere experience, like we call. So yeah, it was a little bit of, okay, so what is another problem that hasn't been unmet? And, and we did really well. We grew that company. Very, we were about at the end 50, 60 people. Um, and yeah, and I can tell you a little bit about the process, but we end up being acquired by Roper Technologies, and that they have a legal division called Advent, and that's what I decided was going to be the best home for you know our company. It
Yeah.
wasn't an easy decision, but I think we made the best decision
Yeah.
selecting Roper and Advent.
Okay. You went with a broker and got that process started. That's fantastic. You grew it over, you said 7 years, was it? Six or
Yeah,
7 years?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
So for everybody out there that's listening or watching that, let's say they've been growing a business for 5, 7 years, what would you say were the key things that you were tracking with your business that really helped it shine when, you worked with a broker to find a buyer? What would you recommend for people out there?
Yeah, David and Steve, I'm sorry. One of the things that we did really well, it's we really find a problem, and we did one thing and we do that really well. In our prior life, we did electronic billing,
Mhm.
and we were the main in electronic billing. Then we did all the time tracking and compliance, and we did that really well. So I think a little bit of my work for other entrepreneurs, it's make sure that you keep a lot of focus in what you're doing, not try to go after every shiny object, every feature, meaning which led us into we pretty much engineer the company that we wanted to build.
Mhm.
So we knew that we wanted to be only SaaS. We knew that we wanted 98% of our revenue come from recurring revenue, meaning that we didn't entertain professional services, right? Or any other. So when I said we engineer the company, our gross profit margins, were about over 93% for a reason.
Wow.
So we implemented a lot of technology to automate. We invested a lot in automation of our processes.
Mm.
So installations, downloads. So we didn't have to throw too many people at problems. So we didn't have to do as much of professional services consulting, which is for our case, there was a revenue that we didn't want. Even kind of like an implementation fee, it was pretty much something that we will give away. And the sales team knew if you have to discount, don't discount the recurrent revenue. So you have a little bit of leeway into the setup and onboarding. But yeah, that's so we were very kind of like a anal in terms of metrics, and we, you know, recurrent and retention, recurrent revenue retention, it was key to us. So, you know, we achieved 98% revenue retention, and that's a little bit of, focus.
Wow, 98%. Those margins are are pretty impressive. That's intense. So from that, a good segue is timing. I think a lot of people really get a little confused around the right time. So when you guys were building Belfield, you were tracking, all these different metrics, automating a lot of the parts of the business to really make this attractive for acquiring company. How did you know it was the right time to sell the business?
That's an amazing question because it's kind of like getting married or having a kid. I don't think that is the perfect timing. So for us, we knew that we were growing very quickly. And in our case, um, we didn't grow the first company as far as we did with this. And in order to keep growing at the pace that we were doing, um, it's a different company, right? So when you go from 1 to 5 million, it's a different company. When you go from 1 to 10, it's something. When you go from 10 to 15, it's another, management style. So we started kind of like an equity raising exercise, fundraising,
Mhm.
and we just wanted to partner or with a private equity or a venture fund, so they can invest in the company. We will get their experience, and kind of like leverage the private equity power to continue fueling our growth.
Mhm.
So at the beginning, it was just continue to accelerate the growth. We were already the number one in terms of kind of like how we knew that we were ready, right? How did we know that we were gonna get the valuation that we wanted? And it was look at the numbers, right? Retention. We were EBITDA about 28% EBITDA. Gross profit margins in growth year over year. And we knew that, we were ready to, being very well appreciated.
Mhm.
And so we started the exercise. I hired an investment banker, which was amazing. And we had about 12 offers between strategic buyers, investors, and financial investors. And yeah, so we narrowed it down and we made a choice to what we believe it was the best decision, which is still
Mhm.
big.
Mhm. And the deal itself, how long did it take for, you worked with the iBanker, how long did it take from starting the diligence process to closing? And did you guys have to spend time at the acquiring company?
Yeah, excellent question, Steve. So the whole process since I started selecting a banker all the way to, signing the purchase agreement, it took about 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Um, but it was intense. It was, in our case, I mean, I cannot stress enough the how a good banker can make the process really easy. So we work together on the numbers, we work together in the investment book, but they did also a lot of work. They triple check our numbers to make sure that, you know, we weren't putting in ourselves in a situation to get a discount later on, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, and so kind of like the preparation, it took us about 3 months. And then you know, he took it to, you know, private equities, venture capitalists, strategic you know, organizations. And that took about another month to start getting NDA signed. And then the last process, it was okay, we narrowed it down to 12, and we will do in-person presentations. You know, in kind of like a getting to know each of these investors, and making sure that we were a fit for each other. And we spent a good time with a number of them, and then we narrowed it down, you know, kind of to the finals. We were about 3 and 4. And then, you know, we said we're going with this. The investment banker did something because we had several offers. You know, we were in a, I would say, in a privileged position. So, you know, to have a little bit more like a bidding game. Um, and after that, and I think Roper did an amazing job in due diligence, and we got the deal wrapped up. Since we signed the LOI to closing, we did it in 45 days with Thanksgiving in between.
Mm.
So, in Steve, something that I think we were very fortunate. Both parties, the acquired company and ourselves, we wanted the deal to succeed.
Mhm.
So we put, I mean, the egos aside, right? And if we didn't agree, we will talk it out. We will come to terms and move on. And I think that's why, I mean, we could wrap up the whole closing in 45 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something that a lot of people don't think about too much when these exits happen is the team, and the team that you're surrounded by when you're going through like a 6 month kind of time frame is just kind of so imperative and so important to have. So you said that you scaled the team up to, was it 80 people? And what was the um, how did you do that? How was the first hires, and how did you scale your team to get ready for the exit?
We started out the three co-founders, and we probably were the only three people for the first year and a half. And up until we, you know, started to have significant number of deals and revenue. But I mean, we were working probably 70 to 80% every year. Some years we will do 100 or a little bit more. And in terms of scaling the team, I think it was an immediate response of the demand that the solution had. In between, we realized opportunity to create two more products, which we needed to staff, you know, to develop
Mm.
a market and sell those products. So a little bit, we had a vision in that we wanted to become the leaders in time tracking and compliance. And to carry out that vision, we kind of like started out, we're going to start with mobile, then we're going to own the user's desktop, then we're going to add compliance, and there was another thing like a collaboration. So that was kind of like an early vision that, you know, we were able to meet as we, you know, we were growing. And as we were growing, we needed to staff accordingly. And part of the success as well, it's, you know, when my life changed, when I hired my first VP of operations. And that also really, you know, kind of like accelerated the growth, because I had one incredible executive, one, executing on the vision of the founders.
Mm. Yeah. One key hire can really make the a world of a difference when you're going from just three co-founders to putting your foot on the gas and really scaling up. I definitely get that. So the finale question that I like to ask everybody is, knowing what you know now, Gabby, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago?
Um, Steve, honestly, I don't, I don't, I don't think I could have said or anything different. I mean, what I could have said, told myself is keep up and keep keep working hard, right?
Mhm.
But I do believe there is merit to what I will tell my future self. And one of the things that I learned was if you make a mistake more than twice, it's already a decision. So in my future, what I will tell my future self, it's kind of like a be more present. Because I mean, the past is, I mean, I cannot change it, right? And I learned, we achieve our goals, but you know, and even for newcomers in entrepreneur, it's be more present. Everything takes time, and you know, put in 2 hours more every day. I mean, chances are that is not going to radically change the outcome, but be more present with your family, right? With your you know, spouses, you know, friends. That's what I will tell my future self. Be more present and you know.
Well said. Well said. Well, you mentioned you were an advisor, an investor now. So what is it that you're working on now?
Um, Kind of like throughout these last 20 years, Steve, I think I pride myself to making every single mistake that an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
you know, did, and I did them all, and but I learned a lot. So part of my new life, I'm advising and mentoring, coaching startups. Mostly are female founders or minority founders, and so they can achieve the success that I was able to. One of the things, you know, I've been extremely lucky, and I think, you know, I cannot deny that. But throughout my life, I have the fortune to have amazing advisors and coaches, and I want to be that for, you know, entrepreneurs and females and minority. And in addition to that, because I'm advising right now about 14 startups, and I volunteer my time to the startups that I feel that I can add value. And if I like the company or we have a good fit, you know, I invest in them. Um, or you know, either monetary investment, or I continue investing my time. So you know, I made 3 investments so far. I'm very excited and pumped about it, and yeah, that's what it's make me happy. It's making me happy right now.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, you can kind of scratch your entrepreneur itch by helping others. I've definitely heard that. I feel
Yeah,
the same way, helping people that are just getting started and telling them to enjoy the process of building. And
yeah, because I mean, if it took me to you know, understand something 5 years, right? I mean, if I can help something, you know, to do it in a year, absolutely, right? So they don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. You know, they might
yeah,
do others, right? But but probably less.
awesome, awesome. Well, those are all the questions I have for you, Gabby. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your inspiring story. And wherever you guys are listening to this, all the links that we talked about from previous companies and things like that that Gabby was mentioning will be in the show notes. But once again, thank you so much, Gabby.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you having me.